Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. There's a retirement coming up. U.S. Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina announced that he is not going to run for re-election in 2026. And so people are wondering what's going to happen in that Senate race, and there's a lot of anticipation building up. Now, it is important to keep in mind that the Republicans right now have that Senate seat, obviously because Thom Tillis is a Republican. But the Democrats, they are going to fight really hard in 2026 to capture the seat in order to win back the Senate majority. That's what the Democrats are going to try. Now, the Republicans cannot let that happen. So the Republicans must have a candidate who can win that Senate seat and who is going to be a strong Trump ally. And as I said, on the Democrat side, they are also going to campaign really hard to win the North Carolina Senate seat. My friends, right now, we the Republicans are at 53. Okay, that's the number of seats we have in the U.S. Senate, 53. 53 Republicans, okay? It's important. Keep that number in mind. Now, I wish we had 55 seats, okay? And the reason I say that is because there are times when a vote on the Senate floor ends up in a 50-50, okay? And what happens then? Vice President J.D. Vance has to come to the Senate to break the tie. He has to cast the tiebreaker vote. And so it would be very nice for the Republicans to have a larger majority, okay? 55 instead of 53, maybe 60. 60 would be really amazing. You know, I would love to see the Republicans have 60 seats in the U.S. Senate, okay? Maybe we'll be able to get to that number in the future. I hope so. But at least, even if we can't get to 60, the Republicans must try to win at least a couple more seats, okay? Right now we're at 53. Don't lose any, but try to pick up a few more seats in other states, okay? And so what happens in North Carolina is going to impact the Senate majority, okay? Now, winning that Senate seat in North Carolina, winning that race in 2026, it would mean, we the Republicans, if we win that race, it would mean that we hold on to what we already have. As I said, it's a Republican seat now, and if we win the 2026 election in North Carolina, the Senate race, we just prevent a loss. Okay, it's about loss prevention. Now, if we win a Senate race somewhere else, maybe a seat that is not in Republican control right now, okay? If we win such a Senate race, then we pick up a seat, okay? Example would be Michigan. There's going to be a U.S. Senate race in Michigan in 2026. And if the Republicans win that seat, then we add a seat to the 53 that we already have. But then if we add a seat somewhere else and we end up losing North Carolina, then what happens? We go back to the original number, 53. We win one, we go up to 54, then we lose North Carolina, we're back to 53, okay? So that's going to be sad if that happens. It's going to be very sad, okay? So as we, the Republicans, try to win other Senate races, like the one in Michigan, to expand our Senate majority, we have to hold on to the North Carolina Senate seat, okay? To prevent a loss. Now, the Democrats are going to be desperate. They already are. They have started campaigning. The Democrats, yes, we are We are in the first week of August, as of the time of the recording of this podcast episode. But the Democrats are thinking about November 2026. They already are. And they are going to be desperately fighting to win that seat in North Carolina. And the Republicans will have to fight really hard to hold on to that seat. So, my friends, if you want to talk about North Carolina, there's one thing I need to point out, and that is all the statewide office holders in North Carolina are not Republicans. Both the U.S. senators are Republicans. There's Senator Thom Tillis, who's retiring, and then there's Senator Ted Budd, both Republicans. But when you look at the governor, he's a Democrat. Josh Stein. North Carolina has a Democrat governor. And before Josh Stein, it was Roy Cooper. And Roy Cooper is also a Democrat. And so that means that a statewide race in North Carolina may seem to be something that the Republicans can win, but it's not a guarantee. It is not a guarantee because we know that Democrats have also won statewide races in North Carolina. In general, I feel hopeful that the Republicans will win the Senate race. But I also understand that the Democrats are going to be fighting really hard. They are going to be campaigning with a lot of energy. And so there's no guarantee what the final outcome of that Senate race will be. So what matters now is the fact that we have to have a strong candidate, okay? And who is going to be the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate? We already know the answer. It's Michael Whatley. Michael Whatley is the chairman of the Republican National Committee. And for a while, there was speculation that Lara Trump might run for Senate from North Carolina. There was excitement building up, and people were wondering what Lara Trump might decide. And then she decided not to run. And now we know that Michael Whatley is running. So here's an interesting fact that I want to share with you. Michael Whatley received President Trump's endorsement even before announcing his candidacy. That's right. President Trump, not too long ago, just a few days ago, President Trump wrote the following on Truth Social. He wrote, and I quote, Mike would make an unbelievable senator from North Carolina. He is fantastic at everything he does, and he was certainly great at the RNC, where, in the presidential election, we won every swing state, the popular vote, and the Electoral College vote by a landslide. But I have a mission for my friends in North Carolina, and that is to get Michael Whatley to run for the U.S. Senate. He is strong on the border, stopping crime, supporting our military veterans, cutting taxes, and saving our always under siege Second Amendment. I need him in Washington, and I need him representing you. End quote. That's a pretty solid endorsement from President Donald J. Trump. And I think President Trump is looking for people he can trust. It's about having people who are committed to the America First agenda. And so Donald Trump endorsed Michael Whatley even before Michael Whatley announced his candidacy. And that is a very strong statement. And what about the Democrats? Who will the Democrat candidate be? Well, we know that answer too. It's going to be Roy Cooper, the former governor of North Carolina, whose name I just mentioned a short while ago. And as I stated earlier, he served as the governor before George Stein came to power. And Roy Cooper was the governor for 2 terms from 2017 to 2025. And now Roy Cooper is running for US Senate. So this is a race that everyone's going to be watching very closely. People with interest in politics, people with interest in public policy and policy making, people with interest in keeping track of what happens in government. Everyone's going to be watching this US Senate race in North Carolina. Now that we already know who the candidates are. From the Republican side, it's Michael Whatley. From the Democrat side, it's Roy Cooper. My friends, there's something I'm going to point out. I don't want to highlight this, okay? I have always said that North Carolina is a red state. It's a Trump state. And from that standpoint, I feel very confident that we will win this Senate race. But then again, if Donald J. Trump is not on the ballot, it may be hard to predict, especially given the fact that Roy Cooper has won statewide elections in the past. But if Michael Whatley is determined, if he is determined to win, and given the fact that he's a very strong political figure, and he knows all about campaign strategies, I think Michael Whatley has a very good chance of winning this race, okay? But one thing we know for sure, it's going to be very competitive, and every day matters between now and November 2026, the election day. So for the Senate race, North Carolina seems to be favoring Republicans. The state did elect Democrats for Senate in the past. Do you remember John Edwards, the name? John Edwards? Yeah, John Edwards was a U.S. Senator from North Carolina. He's not in the Senate anymore. And there was Kay Hagan. You may remember those names, Kay Hagan and John Edwards, both Democrats and both former U.S. Senators from North Carolina. And John Edwards was also a candidate whose name appeared on a presidential ticket, right? You may remember that. So anyway, the state has been a favorable place for the Republican Senate candidates if you look at the last several years. And hopefully going forward, it'll be that way. But there's one thing for sure, my friends. One thing we know for a fact, I think. We can comfortably say that a lot of money will be spent in this race, okay? From both sides. The Democrats are probably going to spend a lot of money. The Republicans will spend a lot of money. And I think Michael Whatley is in this race to win. And I think Roy Cooper is also in this race to make sure that he wins another statewide race. And he has won in the past. He was the governor for 2 terms. So it'll be a tough one. No one is ready to lose. Both are in this to win. So what's it gonna be? Who's gonna prevail? Who's gonna be the winner in the end? So my friends in North Carolina, get ready for the Senate race that will be full of excitement. There will be many politicians from both sides going to North Carolina to campaign for the candidates. There'll be lots of door knocking, lots of flyer distribution, lots of speeches and breakfast events and luncheons and campaign rallies. And after the massive endorsement from Donald J. Trump, the endorsement that Michael Whatley received, I am very, very sure that President Trump will also visit North Carolina to campaign for the Republicans. My friends, our future is at stake. As I've said this before, prior to the November 2024 election, that the future is at stake. And the American people understood the urgency, and they voted for Donald Trump for president and Republicans for Congress. And I want people to understand that our future is still at stake. If we lose the majority in the US Senate, then the Democrats will stop the America First agenda and they will push for their socialist policies. The threat of socialism is growing, my friends. You look at the Democrat Party. You can see that socialism among the Democrats is growing. Socialism is growing. There are many socialist politicians on the Democrat side. Previously, socialism was something that maybe some activists would push, but now advocates of socialism are entering mainstream politics. And they are trying to make their way into positions of power, and they are running for various offices, local, state, and federal, on the Democrat side. There are already some widely known socialists in Congress. There's Bernie Sanders in the Senate. There's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the House. And if the Republicans lose the Senate majority in 2026, then the forces of socialism will grow in strength. We already see that guy, Zoran Mamdani, running for mayor in New York City, running for the mayor of the most populated city in America, New York City. And there are other activists waiting for opportunities to enter mainstream politics. They are waiting for opportunities to run for office and to push socialism. They are advocates of socialism, and we cannot let them win. And winning in North Carolina, if the Republicans win North Carolina, it'll mean that we will hold on to the majority that we already have. In fact, I am really hoping that we will pick up some additional seats in other states. And I will talk about some of the other Senate races very soon. Now, regarding North Carolina, there's a poll that came out regarding this competition for US Senate. It's an early poll, and so a lot can change in the months to come. But according to Emerson College polling, this is the latest poll, Roy Cooper, the Democrat, is at 47%. Michael Whatley, the Republican, is at 41%. So the Democrats may be cheering right now, but hey, let me point this out again. It's too early. And remember, Roy Cooper has statewide name recognition because he was the governor, but still he's at 47% in this poll. He could not go past 50% in the poll, and that is a sign of weakness on Roy Cooper's end. In his 2020 re-election race, Roy Cooper had received 51.5% of the votes. And in this poll, in the Senate poll, he's at 47%. And there are 12% voters who are undecided. 12% undecided. That is a significant population of undecided voters. With Michael Whatley being at 41%, at this stage, I think there's enough time for Whatley to gain support from the undecided voters and to go past Roy Cooper in the polling. And also keep in mind that polling is not the same thing as voting. We have seen polls being accurate, and we have also seen polls being inaccurate. So, you cannot count on a single poll and say, this is it. No, it's not. And especially now that we are in the second half of 2025 and the election is at the end of 2026. So we will be looking at different poll numbers, but what matters in the end is how people vote. So, my friends, there's going to be a lot to discuss in the days and weeks and in the months to come. And I'm going to talk about this Senate race again, obviously. There'll be important developments taking place between now and November 2026. So we'll discuss that. But I will also be talking about other Senate races, because going into the 2026 election year, the election cycle, I'll try to provide you with my analysis regarding the Senate race landscape. Okay, there'll be many Senate races. We will talk about Michigan also, because that is one where we have an opportunity to actually pick up a seat. As I said, North Carolina, we are defending a seat, okay? We're trying to hold on to a seat that we already have. But in Michigan, the Republicans will try to pick up a seat to get to 54, or maybe to get to 55 if we can win maybe another race somewhere else. So we will be talking about the U.S. Senate race landscape, and I'll try to present to you my analysis. And obviously, I want to hear what you have to say. So I would encourage you to share your thoughts with me as well. And if you have thoughts you want to share about the North Carolina Senate race, if you want to respond to anything that I've said in this podcast episode, you can send me a message through my website. You can go to tossifanam.net and send me a message through my website. You can also email me. My email address is tossif@tossifanam.net. And you can also connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on X, and I'm also on Truth Social. So connect with me on social media and share with me your thoughts, okay? So my friends, thank you once again for continuing to listen to my podcast. I truly appreciate that. And I am committed to providing you with the accurate information and thorough analysis about social and political issues, both domestic and international. So I appreciate you continuing to listen to my podcast, and I hope to be back again very, very soon with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. Thank you, my friends, and I'm going to be back again very soon.